Good morning, and thank you for joining us for this live talk on International Women in Engineering Day, which many of you will know celebrates and inspires more young girls and women to take up engineering careers. This year, the Women's Engineering Society is looking towards the future, focusing on the investors and innovators who will change the industry for the better. So who knows, you may be one of those. In a moment, you will hear from Cummins employees Michelle, Anabel, Jessie and Bertrand, who work in the new power segment of the business, which is focused on new and emerging alternative power technologies. Today, you will find out what hydrogen technology is, what inspired their career choices, and why they are an international team that remain passionate and dedicated to the industry. You'll have the opportunity to ask questions, so please pop them into the chat and we will aim to answer as many as we can at the end of the talk. And you can also email us any questions post-event and we'll pop that in the chat to ask an ambassador. So that's enough from me. Let's get on with our live talk. And first up is Michelle. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to International Women in Engineering Day. And should I say hi there? We all work for Cummins. Cummins is 103 years old. It was started as a diesel engine manufacturer and has moved into gas. But during those 103 years, we've developed our products. And over the last few years, Cummins has seen that the future is in new technologies that are greener and more environmentally friendly. So the new power business, which we all work in, was developed, and I recently moved into the hydrogen sector. So today we're just going to run through why we're an international team, what inspired our careers, and some thoughts on hydrogen. So I'm a quality systems manager within the team, and I'm based in Sandwich in Kent. I haven't actually travelled very far within the business, but I do connect with people all over the world, and it's really great to be able to talk to different people and different cultures. Anabel?
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Anabel. I'm the new customer quality manager in Michelle's team. I'm originally from Spain. That's where my career in engineering started. Then after a few years, I decided to move up to Scotland. That's where I started working with Cummins. After a few years in Cummins in Glasgow, I moved to more south to England, and now I'm based in Peterborough. Yeah. Bertrand?
Hello. So I'm from Belgium. I worked mainly in automotive. And just recently, I moved to Cummins, working still in quality, but focused on the supplier's improvement as supplier improvement engineer. And I travel in my career quite mainly in Europe and in Asia to deal with suppliers and customers, and also in Russia.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jesse. I'm a technical account manager on our fuel cell side. I come from the United States, so that's the little blue dot you can see within the States. I spent some time in India with Cummins, and then most recently I've moved and now live in Germany, all within Cummins, so 10 years within Cummins. Excited to talk a little more today.
Thank you, Jessie. And Anabel, would you like to talk to us about how you got into engineering in your career so far?
Yeah, so thanks, Michelle. So yeah, as I mentioned, I'm Anabel. I'm the new customer quality manager for the new power business in Cummins. I've been in the engineering career for 14 years in different sectors, but also different departments. But in the last few years, I stayed within the quality department. So I just started doing my studies in Spain is slightly different than in UK, so we call it a book. So it's the equivalent to your GCSE, but we study every single, let's say, subject in here. Still, I have my preference toward more like maths and physics. So that's why in the last 2 years after joining university at the CO or your A levels, I started more studying more towards math, physics, technical drawing, and chemistry. So I have a clear idea that I wanted to study engineering. My father was an engineer, my brother was also studying engineering, and that's something that I wanted to do. However, my parents completely disagreed with my option, as they thought that was like a career for men, and they didn't support me in that decision. So we had like different discussions about that, and my family said, no, you're not studying engineering. So I say, well, if I study something, it's going to be engineering. So I didn't join the university after my A-levels, just because my only option was for me like engineering, and that wasn't supported. So for a year, I was like doing like small jobs in like teaching for schools. I was also working on real estate. And then after 6 months, my father said, you know what, study what you want, but just study something. So that's when I started my engineering degree. And since then, I haven't regret. I'm really happy with the choice that I took. And I've been like continuing studying with different courses and taking different certificates towards like engineering. So this is in here a little bit about my career path. So I just started in 2006 in an IT company. It's called Henford, that was in Spain. And then I was there for like a year until one of the companies that I was like working in a special project, they offered me like a job as a production engineer. And that's where like really started more as a production engineer. However, after a few years, we have like this big economic crisis. We didn't have any jobs in Spain. So that's when I decided to move to UK. Yeah. And in there, instead of like finding a job as an engineer, I have to go back again into graduate, as it seems like my experience in Spain wasn't like valid. So I have to start from zero again. So I did feel less than a year in biofilm. It was like a pharmaceutical company. And then it was when Cummins offered me like another graduate program. For me, it was a little bit disappointed as I already had like quite experience, but I thought it's coming, it's the company that I want to work, so I'm gonna take it. So I took this opportunity. It was like a 2 years graduate program. However, I only did one. And after that, I just continued with different careers and different like business units within Cummins until today. Yeah.
Thank you, Anabel.
Thank you.
So I'm a quality system manager, but I'm also a civil engineer, and I have 33 years in experience in engineering, and I love being a STEM ambassador, getting involved in events like today. So my interest in engineering started when I was at school, as I liked maths and physics and technical drawing, which I think is called design and technology now. And I also liked understanding why things are built as they are, why they're constructed the way they are, what makes them work, and that's why I took a career in engineering. So from my O-levels GCSEs, I moved into my A-levels and took maths and physics. And then when I completed my A-levels, I decided that going to university wasn't my career choice. So I took up a civil engineering trainee program, which today you would call an apprenticeship. So I attended college 1 day a week and worked for 4 days the week, the rest of the time. From that, I've moved on and carried on doing professional qualifications. So I'm a member of the Institute of Civil Engineers. I'm a member of the Institute of Leadership and Management and a practitioner of the Chartered Quality Institute. And even today, I still do continuing professional development to keep up with the latest technologies within the industries that I work. So my career path started with Kent County Council when I joined as a trainee. And during that time, I went through various different projects, whether it was maintenance projects, construction projects, and also the opportunity to look at designing as well. And during that time, that's when I became an incorporated engineer and a member of the Institute of Civil Engineers. I then moved to a company called Ringway, where I was responsible for maintenance activities. And one of the projects that I was involved in was at the Dartford crossing, and the picture at the top left is probably a picture that most people will never see. It's completely empty. That's when we were doing some maintenance work on the top of the bridge. I also got involved in different projects. At the bottom on the left is a picture of Ramsgate Harbour Approach Tunnel. We used to maintain the tunnel, but also carry out emergency testing activities. So we could test the fire systems, the evacuation processes, etc. And then in 2011, I moved to Ringway Jacobs. This is where my career in quality, I took over quality at Ringway Jacobs, and that was my main focus. If you're wondering what quality is, it's like if you bought a packet of chocolate biscuits, when you opened it, you would want to make sure there was chocolate on your biscuit. If there was no chocolate, it would be poor quality. And I look at processes and systems to ensure that every chocolate biscuit goes out with the chocolate on it, or in our case, the fuel cell and hydrogen technology products are going to the customer fit for purpose. Then in 2018, I decided that I would like a slight career change and look at a different form of engineering. So in 2019, I joined Cummins, a part of their project team across Europe. And then more recently, I've joined the fuel cell and hydrogen technology part of the business, where I'm continuing to develop my professional knowledge and work with this great team that you can see today. Bertrand.
So, yeah, you all hear about the hydrogen and lots in the media. And one of the biggest, I would say, industry that we all knows, because we are all focused on this, is the car industry. And you most probably knows Elon Musk. Elon Musk, who always and since already 2015 said that the hydrogen is for the dumb, that is fuel cells and not fuel cells, and that the efficiency of hydrogen is poor compared to BEV, battery electrical vehicle. He is right. He is right. We have to admit that the efficiency of hydrogen versus battery electrical vehicle is poor. That's a fact. That's not the discussion. Also, in hydrogen industry, we are facing a lot, and that's also a big challenge of directive that we have to apply, to satisfy, and to make sure that everything is well fit for purpose, as Michelle said earlier. And this is very good. You can go further on that and see that, this is good. So just a small comparison. So we all know food. Food is energy. Hydrogen, BEV, it's also energy management. That's a small comparison of food supply and versus the energy supply. So for the food supply, if we have only fresh foods, we will not survive 24 hours, 7 days a week, and for all year long. That's the same for the energy. We have to store and to process energy the very same way. As for food, we have the freezer, we have the storage, we have the drying process, such a way that we have foods all year long in all around the world. And this is to achieve to a sustainable food level all around the world. So food management is definitely energy management. And on that, we are all expert in that domain, because we are all carrying on food. And if we go further on that topic for hydrogen, yeah, that's easy. We can apply that and start from people engineering, from team, from different, I would say, gears, different size, different shape. All people are relevant and have to take part to this challenge to build really a system on which we could have renewable energy as windmills, hydro, solar panels, and this will then help us to store or directly deliver energy to the relevant, I would say, customers could be cars, BEV, or for hydrogen, fuel cell electrical vehicle. So that is a way that could, at the end, avoid, I would say, what we are facing right now is solar panel curtains, so shutting off of the renewable systems, and this is really to have something sustainable. That's management of energy as it is for food. That's the same. Thank you.
So I think this next slide talks a little bit about how is Cummins doing the management of that energy. And we're doing it through a couple different ways. So as Bertrand mentioned, fuel cells, that's definitely for the four of us, the key target, the area we're working in, hydrogen for fuel cells and hydrogen for the electrolyzers. But Cummins is also involved in the battery side as well. So what we believe in is a strategy that we can go to the customers, the buses, the trains, the trucks that you see here, and offer a wide package of variety of ways to manage and store that energy. So as you can see the pictures on the right, there's many different applications that we're involved in. It's an exciting market where many of these traditional applications, you've probably been on buses and trains where they have a diesel engine or a natural gas engine, and we're in the process of trying to move those into a clean energy, such as batteries, such as hydrogen fuel cells. And then on the creation of the hydrogen side, that's where these electrolyzers are really coming into play for us. So how do we take that renewable energy source from the windmills, from the solar powers, and create the hydrogen that is then used in these applications? And that's what the electrolyzer side is able to do for us. And then finally, the last segment there, the hydrogen fueling station. We also know there's an infrastructure that has to be built and developed around the world in order for us to use hydrogen within our fuel cells. So we have initiatives in place to help build those stations out, very similar to 10 years ago, the big push with electric charging stations all over the UK and the world. So that's a little bit about the applications that we're working in. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Lisa, any questions?
Hi. Well, I'm still digesting all the information, to be totally honest. That was great. Thank you all. That was really informative, interesting, and you've certainly been on some fantastic career journeys. And we wish you continued success in your respective countries. Good to see that, you know, you're working together collectively, but in different parts of the world. So we've got some questions that have been coming in. So hopefully our audience has been inspired to think further about their careers in the engineering industry. So let's have a look. This can be to any of you, actually. How have you found the different cultural differences working in the UK? So maybe Michelle, you could take that one.
Sure. I find it really easy, actually. Within Cummins, we have a great culture of diversity. So working with different people is you know, it's really good to understand where they've come from, which countries they've visited, understand their stories, but also bringing their knowledge that they've acquired in the journeys, whether it's from where they're originally from, countries that they've worked in. It's a really good way of sharing knowledge and understanding different cultures.
Great, thank you. And maybe Anabel, you might like to answer, how has the engineering industry changed over the years for women?
Well, I will say that has changed a lot since I started. And even I see that still like there is a big difference between like Spain and UK nowadays. Still like Spain is still a little bit behind in that aspect. So yeah, when I started, it was like quite difficult, like a woman to do like a career in engineering. Like I was like let's say like the first one in my promotion. the first one to finish the degree on time with really good qualification. Still, I couldn't find a job in Spain as an engineer for like a year and a half. And I saw like my male colleagues at uni with like lower grades than me that were just finishing and then getting their jobs. But still, for me was difficult. But I think once you like get there, it was easier for me because then you have experience. And then when I moved to UK, it was like completely different. I saw like it wasn't such a stigma into like women in engineering. So for me, it was like really, really simple and clear.
No, that's good to hear. Thank you very much. Maybe Bertrand or Jessie, how did you find the industry change from highways to fuel cells? Anybody want to take that one?
Jessie?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I think the industry is still in the process of changing. So we're still trying to figure out what's the best packaging, what's the best way to power on highway applications. And that's where Cummins is taking the diverse approach of we still offer and sell diesel engines in the applications that make the most sense. But at the same time, we know that's not the 5, the 10, the 15-year future. So we're trying to diversify and develop these technologies of hydrogen, of batteries, to make them more robust, so then they could eventually replace the internal combustion engine.
Okay, thank you very much, Jessie. Let's put this to maybe at least a couple of you. So Bertrand, maybe what is the favourite part? What is your most favourite part of your job?
Yeah, it's the communication. Definitely, that's to work with the people. That's really to from I would say a problem to define together what we could do and discuss and how to do that and do the documentation for that problem solving and discussion with suppliers, customers, or whoever that could be. Yeah, that's the communication.
That's great. Working with others, so it's all about teamwork. It's not just about being solo. Yeah, that's great. And Michelle, what's your most favourite part? Because obviously you've been in engineering for a long time now and a female in that role. So do you have a favourite part, or I'm sure there are probably many?
I've probably got many, but I think throughout my career I've taken different routes. So I've looked at engineering in different ways. So from the construction industry, highways, and now into what's really a mechanical and electrical engineering field. But I think if you start with a general engineering passion, you can move into all different types of fields. And it is the people, working with great people, and across the world as well, like the previous question, the diversity in the different cultures and getting to meet them when I'm traveling across Europe.
No, that's amazing, and it's brilliant they all speak English. So well done. Maybe Jessie, where do you see your future career in the next 5 years?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I'm from the States and moved to Germany in 2020, so right during the Corona pandemic. My wife and I were happy here in Germany. There's still a lot of opportunity and growth, but what does that future look like where, I think, is the open question. But I do see it going and continuing to grow in the hydrogen space. So that's an exciting new area for me. That's a great learning, as well as the market is starting to take off and grow in that area.
Yeah, all about future technologies and moving along with them rapidly. And should we ask that to Anabel as well? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, that's a difficult question. I used to think on that question like before when I started, like, oh, I see myself like in 5 years in there. What life has taught me is like you never, or at least in my case, I never got where I thought. So I just say that I will keep with the flow. I don't have anything in mind. It's just like keep learning, keep progressing, and then like new opportunities like that you might never think it will appear. But yeah, definitely in these 5 years, keep enjoying, keep learning, and let's see what the future brings.
That's great. Oh, here's a tough one. What is the future of a sustainable world, and how long will it take to see the changes? Who wants to take that one?
That's a really good question, Lisa. And I'm not sure I've got a really good answer for that, unfortunately. But we are in a changing world, and it has obviously recognised that we need to move forward with renewable energy, new technology, and we're in a great place to be able to do that. I think they're calling it the new 4.0 industrial revolution. So it is the digital age and what we can do to protect the planet going forward.
Yeah, I'm sure lots of work there, but yeah, everyone can only keep trying. As you say, we don't know how long, but it will happen. How can you get onto a graduate scheme? You know, how could that, I'm assuming that Cummins offer graduate schemes, apprenticeships, and when can you apply, and what's that process?
Okay, I'll take that question. Graduate opportunities are always posted on the Cummins website, on the jobs site, so you can actually search for those. Apprenticeships are posted in the UK on the government website, the government's apprenticeship website, so search for those. There are a number of apprenticeship opportunities depending on what you would like to do, whether that's level 4, 5 or 6. We do have some degree apprenticeship places at the moment. And for those of you who are thinking about going to university, I would really encourage you to do a sandwich course with an industrial placement, and Cummins also offer many opportunities for placements, and these can also be applied for through the Cummins jobs website.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. We can send out those links to, if anyone's interested, if they want to send us an email to ask an ambassador. The address is in the chat. How long does it take to come up with ideas to implement fuel cells? Probably quite a technical question, probably a very long-winded answer as well. So if anyone can do something quickly.
Yeah, well, I will answer that. So myself, I did a work, and I thought about that just preparing this session with you for you. I did a work on the fuel cell when I was 16 years old, so 25 years ago, and that was quite known at that time. So it's quite old concept, fuel cells. It's not new at all.
No,
and this emerged in 60s. In the 60s. Yeah.
Okay. We've mentioned obviously that there's different types of engineering, but what are career pathways to get into engineering? I know we've mentioned about the Cummins ones, but if you can enlighten students as to any other ways that you can get involved in engineering, that would be helpful.
Sure, I think a really good resource is Tomorrow's Engineers. That shows you the career paths you can take, whether that's through apprenticeships, universities, training schemes, and you don't necessarily have to follow that standard route of doing GCSEs, A-levels, university. There are lots of different routes you can take, so I'd really encourage you to look at Tomorrow's Engineers website, and also any other engineering institutions, so Institute of Civil Engineers, the IMechE, which is the mechanical engineers. If you just Google engineering institutes, I'm sure you'll find a lot, and all their websites have loads of information about how to get into careers in engineering.
Thanks, Michelle. Well, I think that wraps up our talk. It's gone really quickly, and we hope we've inspired many more people, whether they're female or male, to discover what engineering's about, because you all sound like you're making great careers of it. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you for sharing your career path information with us, and we wish you the best of luck in the future. And thank you everyone for joining us this morning. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.